Bruchim haboim b'shem Hashem. What a great zchus it is that we're all united in the study of Torah, learning Pirkei Avos. I would like to thank Torah Anytime, an organization that is very close to me. They have done an unbelievable job in raising the bar of Torah throughout the entire world. May they continue to have bracha and hatzlocha, mechayel el choyel mitoch hachava. I would also like to thank Chazaq, an organization that is very close to my heart, with Rabbi Yaniv Meirov and with our good friend Rabbi Ebav has done, to bring Torah to the masses, to bring people closer, La'avim Shabbat Shamayim, is something that is pure inspiration to all of us. May they continue. Mechayel el choyel mitoch hachava. Our Mishnah tonight is going to be the third Mishnah in the sixth parak. And it begins like this. Haloimid mechaveroi. If you learn from your friend, parak echad, one chapter. You didn't learn the whole sefer, you didn't learn the whole book. Perek echad, just one chapter. Maybe the first chapter of Breishis. Maybe the first perek of Mishnayos and Brachos. Maybe the first perek of Gemara and Bava Metzia. Maybe the first perek in Mesilas Yesharim. Maybe the first perek in the Nomeli Melech. Anyone who learns one perek, o halacha echos, one law of Lashon Hara, one law of Shmira Shabbos, one law of Choshen Mishpat, one law of doing chesed, one law of saying the truth, one law of Kibud Ava'im, Kibud Hoirim Umayrim, respecting our teachers, one law, o pasuk echad, or maybe just one sentence, Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Marasha Kilas Yaakov. We learned that when we're in pre-1A, when we're in nursery. We have to give honor to that teacher, to that Mora, to that Rebbe. One pasuk I learned from them. Do we realize what we can do with that one pasuk? How it will follow us in life? How it made a rosham? How it makes us who we are today when we grow up? Because we learned that pasuk and they sang the pasuk to us and it penetrated and went into our neshamos. O dibur echad, or perhaps one word, o afilu ois echos, or just one letter. What's one word? What can one word do? Well, let me tell you, a number of years ago, I got a call from a young boy. The young boy said, my father said it would be okay to call you. Can I ask the Rebbe a question? I said, of course, my schus. He said, my Rebbe asked all of us a question before we left on Friday, Erev Shabbos. Anybody who gets the answer has a chance at a prize. He said, we are allowed to ask anybody we want for help because it's a hard question. I said, okay, I'll try. I'm not sure I'll have the answer, but ask me. So he asked me. The question was a one-word answer. What is the name of the mother of Avraham Avinu? Avraham Avinu's mother. I was fortunate. I knew the answer and I gave it to him. And I told him. He said, thank you very much, Rebbe. Thank you, thank you. We hung up the phone. Years later, I was at a bar mitzvah. A young man comes over to me and says, you, Rabbi Goldwasser? I said, yes. So he says, I want you to know, when I was little, I called you up with a question. I said, really? He said, yes. He says, I don't know if the Rebbe remembers, but it was a question about the mother of Avraham Avinu. And the Rebbe gave me the answer. I said, yes, I do recall it. And he said, I want you to know, I won the prize. And because I won the prize, I got Chazaq. I didn't realize exactly what it did at that time, but it made me a little bit more interested in the Torah studies. And I continued. And I even learned 1 year in Beis Medrash. Maybe because of that one word. When I began to think about it, I thought about this Mishnah in Avos. What does it mean? O dibor echad, o afilu ois echos, one letter. Somebody teaches you a letter, an ois, how a person should know that they are fortunate. Every letter in Torah has deep meaning, even just the ois by itself. The Aleph base Rebbe, the Mora that teaches the Aleph base. Aleph, base, Gimel. Do we realize what that means to us in our lives? So afilu ois echos, or perhaps the base, which represents the bias, the Jewish home. The base is not closed on the fourth side. If you ask anybody, please draw a house, everybody will draw a house with four sides. But this one is open. Why? Because the house always has to be open to everybody in need, open to everyone that needs a meal, that needs warmth, that needs a place to stay, and needs a place to seek counsel. Our homes have to be open. That's the lesson of the base. So afilu ois echos, even one letter, tzorich linag bo kavod. A person then has to show the proper honor and respect to their teacher. It doesn't matter how much they taught. It doesn't matter how little they taught. The important idea is that they transferred Torah over to the individual. And that is something that one cannot even estimate the tremendous value. And we learn further, Shekein Motzunu b'Dovid HaMelech. We found by none other than Dovid HaMelech, Melech Yisrael, Dovid HaMelech, one of the greatest kings of all time. Sheloi lomad me'Achitophel elo shnei devarim bilvad. He learned from Achitophel only two things. Only two things he learned from him. Two things. Dovid HaMelech was so great. Achitophel was not that great. In fact, he had a lot. He had a lot of potential. But he lacked Yiras Shamayim. He didn't have fear of heaven. So unfortunately, his life took a downward turn. Achitophel. But yet, Dovid HaMelech called him Rabbi, Alufai, Umiudar, my master, my companion, my friend. He called him Rebbe. So we have to understand, what did Achitophel teach to Dovid HaMelech? There are two things that he taught. One, he saw Dovid HaMelech going to shul. When he went to shul, he was walking with an upright stature. There was a reason for it. Achitophel said, Dovid HaMelech, when you go berogesh, you go with emotion, you go with great sensitivity. What do we say? Einav lamata, liba lamayla. Our eyes are downward. You don't walk in like that. You walk in with greatness. You walk in understanding. Not only that, you don't go alone. Because it says, Beroiv am hadras melech, with the multitude is the majesty of the king. Walk in with a group. Walk in with a tzibur. Walk in with a community. So that was one thing that he learned. The second thing that he learned, Dovid HaMelech was learning himself. Sometimes we all like to learn ourselves. However, he said to him, no. When you learn together with a group, so it sharpens everyone. The Gemara in Tainus, the Talmud tells us that it's just like two knives and they sharpen each other. So too, when one engages in learning with another person, so there's an exchange between them. They correct each other, they sharpen each other. You have to present your reasoning, your rationale, and therefore it helps you learn. So he said, Dovid HaMelech, you should be learning together with someone, with a group. Those two things are what was taught by Achitophel to Dovid HaMelech. However, in Nach, we learn something else. In Nach, we learn that Dovid HaMelech was told by Noson HaNavi that he would not build the Beis HaMikdash. Why? Because Dovid HaMelech was a warrior. He had dam. He had blood on his hands. After all, he had to defend Klal Yisrael. Because of that, he would not be zoche to build the Beis HaMikdash. So Dovid HaMelech said, if I can't build the Beis HaMikdash, let me at least dig the foundation. Let me dig into the earth so that I can make the foundation for the Beis HaMikdash. I want to have some part. I want something to do with it. So what did he do? He went 1,500 amos, dug deep into the ground. That was the greatness of David HaMelech. Look what he was willing to do, at least to be some part of that Beis HaMikdash that was going to be built. That is how he thirsted for Tzorchei Tzibor, to be a part of it. Everyone, the greatest schus that we have in life is to be a part of the tzibor, is to help out, is to be mishtatev, is to be partners in the things that the community does. We don't even realize that sometimes a person thinks, so what is it? I'm mezakeh the rabbim. Kol mezakeh a rabbim. If you help out in the community, ein chet ba'al yadai, even a person doesn't have vera, it will not be accounted to the person's cheshbon. That is the greatness of a person that is mishtatev with tzorchei tzibor. And so he dug down. All of a sudden, he hit a part. There was like pottery there. And he tried to get it out. He tried to remove it. He tried to break it. And it wouldn't go. No matter what he did, David HaMelech brought in all kinds of utensils and it wouldn't go. All of a sudden, the Kli said, David HaMelech, no matter how hard you're going to try, you will not remove me. David HaMelech said, how long have you been there? He said, I've been here since Kabbalah Satira. Do you think that stopped David HaMelech? A lot of times a person runs in to a roadblock, an obstacle, a maniyah, and they say, okay, I tried to learn, I can't learn, I tried to do the Shabbos, I can't do that, I tried to be careful in this, I can't, I tried to keep it away, but I got impossible parents, and I can't. Obstacle! All of a sudden the person gets discouraged and they say, look, I tried, I couldn't do it, that's it. I tried to quit smoking. I couldn't. So what should I do? No! A person has to know that's nisayon. Continue no matter what, until a person is able to accomplish the mitzvah, or to stay away from the aveira, to stay away from sin. It doesn't matter how many times a person failed. Hashem is not going to ask you how many times we failed. Hashem will only ask us, why didn't you continue on? Why didn't you try? Why didn't you believe in yourself? Why didn't you realize you have the koyach of your neshama inside and you can do anything? Hashem Yisbarach gives us that koyach. So David HaMelech was not at all discouraged by what he heard, that he wouldn't be able to break it. And he continued and continued. Sure enough, he broke that shard. And after he did, the Tehoim, the waters came up and threatened to flood the entire earth. He took off the cap that held all the waters back. He didn't know what to do. So he said, does anybody know what the remedy is? What should happen? How can we stop the waters from flooding? Achitophel, he did know. He didn't want to say, because he was hoping that David HaMelech would be flooded and wiped out with the water, and then he would take over being the king. There's a history behind it. Sometime we should have the chance to go into it. David HaMelech then said, if there is anybody who knows the secret who is not saying and will not say it, he should die. He should die. When Achitophel heard this, he realized already the words of David HaMelech have a great power. So he came to David HaMelech and he said to him, King, what you do is we're going to take a piece of pottery. We're going to write on it the Shem Hashem, the special name of Hashem. And when you'll throw that in there, all the waters are going to stop. So David HaMelech asked him, you're going to write the Shem Hashem on it? What's going to happen? Nimchak. When it goes in there, the waters are going to erase the name. So how can you erase the Shem Hashem? A person has to be extremely careful. Shaila from a Goyin, Reb Chaim Kanievsky Shlita, that was brought into him about you have on the computer and you're typing Shem Hashem. Are you allowed to erase it? Can you delete the Shem Hashem? And of course, Hagoyin Reb Chaim goes into the very intricate instance of the computer, what the writing is, and speaks about all the technical aspects of it. However, Shem Hashem, a person has to be careful. If you have it on the paper, you can't discard the paper. You got to put the paper in Shemus and Geniza. That's the halacha. So he asked Achitophel, if I'm going to put the Shem Hashem and it will become erased, how can I do it? Achitophel answered him, no, you're allowed to do it, because Hashem is moichel on his own honor and does not care about himself when it comes to the shalom, when it comes to the peace, when it comes to the welfare of the world. And so David HaMelech was so happy to hear it. In front of everybody, he went and he threw that shard into the water, and all of a sudden, all of the water went down. At that minute, in front of everybody, he called to him, Rebbe, Alufi, Umiyudai. He gave him all of these titles of honor in front of everyone. In that moment, so Klal Yisrael said, Im ala melech, if the king himself, bichvodo va'atzmoi, calls Achitophel by these names, so how much more so should we, commoners, regular people, when a Rebbe teaches us, when a Morah teaches us, how much more should we give them honor and call them by their right names and their prestigious titles? How beautiful this is that we learn from Achitophel, even though Achitophel did it because he had to. He was forced to do it. He had other things in mind, not the best things in mind. So we see, because of the two things or the three things that Achitophel taught, that he was given this great honor. How much we should think about the great honor of the Rebbeim, of the Moros, of the Rebbitzins, of those that teach us, of the helpers, of the assistants, of the people that teach Aleph Beis, of the people that help us to read. How much we owe them honor. Do you know that there are shilas in halacha, in Yoredeya? There is kibud horim umorim, how important it is, kibud chachamim. When the chacham walks down the street, are you supposed to walk on the right side, or are you supposed to walk on the left side? When the chacham is darshaning, is the person supposed to come in or not? So many various different ideas of how a person has to be careful of halacha. If one's Rebbe is there in the room, are you allowed to paskin a shaila? The Rebbe is there. How can you paskin a shaila? How could you at that moment? It's not honor. I was once at a bar mitzvah reception, and there it was the reception of the Eisner Mishpacha. My great Rebbe, Hagoyin Rav Simcha Wasserman, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivas Or Elchanan, was there at the Simcha. They came over to me and they asked me to speak, to say Divrei Torah. I said, no, thank you. I appreciate it. I would be more than happy any time to do it for you, but I can't. The host said, okay. They came back over to me and they said, could we ask the Rav why the Rav, who always agrees, doesn't want to speak? I told him it's very simple. My Rebbe is here. Hagoyin Reb Simcha is here. I don't want to get up and say one word in front of my Rebbe. It's not respectful. They said, okay. About 5 minutes later, I'm busy eating. Someone is pulling me by my jacket. I turn around. It's Hagoyin Reb Simcha. I almost fainted. I stood up. Rebbe, can I help? What can I do? The Rebbe said to me, I was told that they had asked that you speak Divrei Torah in honor of the Simcha. I said, yes, it's true. But Rebbe, it's impossible for me to speak in front of the Rosh Yeshiva. The Rosh Yeshiva said, right now, I'm going to make it possible. He signaled to the Baal Simcha, and the Baal Simcha introduced me. how careful a person has to be with the proper derech eretz and honor to all, but especially to those that educate us, those that give us our chinuch. They are from the heights of the world, Berumo Shalom, and we've got to be very careful how we treat them. This is an amazing, amazing thing. There was a Rebbe who was very instrumental and was Makarev, a husband and a wife. And the husband and wife, they felt that they owed their life to this Rebbe. The husband and wife had their first baby, a baby boy. And they wanted to know if they could name the boy after this Rebbe living. They went to one of the Gedolei Yisrael, and I believe Rav Elyashiv, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, said that it is extremely appropriate to name after the Rebbe. What does a Rebbe do? What does a Rebbe do? Let me tell you in the words of the Aber Yaakov, the great Rebbe Abu Chatzera. He says an interesting thing, Umatzdike harabim, those that give merit to the masses, kekoichovim le'olam voed. They are like stars. And who are these stars? Elu melamdei tinoikis, Baba Basra. Those are the people that teach us. Those are the Rebbeim, the Moros. That's who they are. So what does it mean? The Gemara tells us that when an individual is born, so they are born, and there's a star that shines at that time. It's a mazel and a bracha. And they grow up. And they are greatly influenced at the time of their birth by the moment in time. That is what it means, kekochavim. The Rebbe, we take a look at the Rebbe, waiting outside the yeshiva, waiting outside the Beis Yaakov. The Rebbe, waiting to take the little children in to learn, going out to sing with them, play with them during the recess. Okay, nice man, the Rebbe. Nice lady, the Morah. She's nice Rebbetzin. Not only nice, they are stars. And from the ashpah of that star, that little child will grow great. That little child will grow to be a Gadol b'Yisrael because they had a Rebbe that cared, because they had a Morah that took time and understood who they are. This is an unbelievable idea for us all to understand. I would like to thank especially Chickens for Shabbos, because Chickens for Shabbos take care of those Rebbeim and those Moros and Almonas and Grushas and people that don't have the same chance sometimes at life. Agunos. People that are sometimes in difficult straits, and Chickens for Shabbos cares about them. How unbelievable it is that there is such an organization. And so, we have to understand people. In fact, Rabbi Dr. Dovid Lieberman, my co-host, the understanding, the perception that he has into the human condition is something that is amazing. It's inspirational because he understands people and he understands how to take the people out of whatever situation they need to escape from. And so, I will just be Messiah B'Dover Tov. If I could, I would speak for hours tonight, but we have our time. I gave a class, a seminary class, once a week, and a wonderful group of Talmidas were there. It was about Hanukkah time, and one of the Talmidas told me that they would like to speak just for a moment. They have a serious predicament that they would like my advice on. When I heard the home that the Talmidah came from, I started to shake. When I thought about the chance that this young woman has in life, wow, it was something that it was scary to know the challenges that she faced on a daily level. Well, it was during one of the shiurim that I had mentioned a lot of the young people who are going to become future teachers. And I said, when you teach, when you become the Rebbe, when you become the Mora, you should know that it takes tefillah. You got to pray. You got to daven. You got to daven, you got the right words. You got to daven that you understand the Talmud and the Talmidas. You got to daven that you're going to be sensitive. You got to daven that you find chen. You got to daven that you will understand everything that you possibly need to understand about them. And I said, before you go into the classroom, there is a tefillah. The tefillah is by the great Rabbi Spitz of Prague. He made a tefillah for a Mora to say, before entering the classroom, you put your hand on the mezuzah and you daven. You daven from the depths of your heart that you will be matzliach in your class. And I mentioned it. They were very interested in that, especially those that were going to go into teaching. So on the last day of class, when I came in and I was about to leave, the same young Talmida came over to me, the one that came from the very difficult family situation. And she said, you know, Rebbe, you helped me a great deal. I was able to get out of the situation. I was able to move in with an aunt who's a wonderful family, and they were able to give me everything that I needed. And I wanted to buy you a present just to express my thanks. I said, no, you don't have to buy me anything ever, believe me. She said, no, I think this you will accept. I unwrapped the wrapping paper, and in it was the Tefillah Lamora, the Tefillah, the prayer that I had suggested. She said, please accept this. It is the least that I could do. I think about all of the Talmidim and the Talmidas out there. You know, all of us need to daven. All of us need to say the tefillah that we are matzliach, and we are zoichet to raise a generation of committed, inspired young people to Hashem, to Torah and mitzvahs.